We should never act alone. Rather, we should make a conscious effort to gain the support and ideas of our fellow constituents. A lone voice of protest is often viewed as a whiner and is unlikely to accomplish anything. But it's amazing what even a small group of like-minded people can do to bring about positive change. So how do we gain such a constituency for our cause? By sharing our views with those who hold similar beliefs and who are willing to get involved. The more people involved, the better and more successful an idea is bound to be. And finally, the third reason for the Boston Tea Party's success was that it was based upon selfless and godly principles. Contrary to what some of us might perceive, the Boston Tea Party was not merely a rowdy romp with the boys of Boston, but a fairly dangerous quest, and one with a purpose. The purpose was not merely to bellyache and complain about oppressive taxes, but to awaken a cry for independence that would sweep the nation. Thanks to this vehicle we have called democracy, and many years of refinement, Americans have been able to resolve discrimination issues, impose moral laws, worship God freely, seek out justice, care for the poor, strive for peace, oppose evil both domestically and internationally. And I believe that we can all agree that these were biblical, God-honoring, and constructive benefits of the Boston Tea Party and the subsequent revolution for independence. What changes do we want to see in America today? Are these changes selfish, or do they benefit others? Are the changes that you seek in accordance with God and His standards, or do they bend towards Satan and his greatest asset, gross, unadulterated tolerance? You know, we're seeing a lot of tolerance in America today, and not all of it's good. Of course, it's wonderful that a person's gender or the color of their skin no longer inhibits them from using certain drinking fountains, eating at certain restaurants, or even attaining public offices. However, where tolerance conflicts with God's standard is where our intolerance needs to stand, proud and strong. Those who advocate abortion need to understand that they're not just opposing the Christians or the GOP, they're opposing God. Homosexuals and their supporters need to understand they're not arguing with me or with you, but with Romans chapter 1. We need to stand unified and show them, in love, that no, we are not judging them. The judgment has already been made, and it's by someone a lot bigger than any of us. If someone wants to take that up with him, that's their business. But as individuals, let's strive to find the peace of mind that we have done our part by sharing God's truth with them. Anyone who knows this truth yet chooses to exercise political correctness will instead often excuses himself or herself by claiming immunity on the bandwagon of tolerance. But a better word is apathy. Why? Because in my opinion, a Christian who chooses to turn his back on a sin which separates a precious eternal soul from God is standing by, if not enabling, a murder. If you honestly believe that what someone is doing is contrary to God's law, meaning it will damn them for all eternity, then speak up. Explain it to them. Otherwise, how will they ever know? Why do I say all of this? Because I believe that freedom from a declining global morality, freedom from Satan's hateful clutches, is the greatest independence that this nation could ever know. In Boston Harbor, the Sons of Liberty responded to the calls of duty and conscience, God and country. But we are called to a cause no less noble or important than theirs was. By voting and staying politically active, we give each branch of the government its power. In a representative democracy like ours, we have access to quality information that can help us decide whether those who govern us should be retained or replaced. Therefore, we can't point fingers at members of our state, local, and national governments without acknowledging our own role in the process and our own fault as the electors. Many of us have fallen asleep at the proverbial wheel. And for those of us who have stayed involved, there's so much more that we can be doing. Of course, there's no telling what a little more activism or a few more votes might have changed in our past. But all that remains for us now is to take renewed interest in the future. Let's rededicate ourselves to our role as electors. In the interest of our loved ones and our descendants, let's do our homework before we vote. Let's get involved, share our concerns, and never fail to hold our government officials accountable. It's Independence Day, a day celebrating liberty and free thought. How very appropriate it would be if today some of us could rediscover our own voice and take a more active role in the process. But hear this, don't wait to use your voice. Today is July 4th, meaning we have 4 short months to work before Election Day. As Americans, let's make November 3rd a day of reckoning. Day when our elected officials feel that first twinge of fear, realizing that the public is still watching and that irresponsible policies will not be tolerated anymore. It's high time to start asking ourselves the questions that, over time, will shape the new face of America. Questions like, why, Superintendent Bennett, do you impose budget cuts on public schooling while favoring the private schools? Is this not sacrificing the many for the sake of the few? By robbing public schools of the monetary resources that they need to provide a strong education, then it is impeding countless Hoosiers' academic growth, crippling us for the future. But what about the students from low-income families, who certainly aren't in private schools? These students need education as a lifeline to pull them out of poverty. But if Bennett tightens the belt any further, they might not get that opportunity.